Good evening, good evening. Hope everyone is well. Wednesday, hump day. Fun times. One more day to go after this for us to finish up the week. And hopefully all hell doesn't break loose on the weekend. It's, getting pretty crazy. It really truly is. I think the Russia-Ukraine thing kind of went a direction, took a turn I don't think a whole lot of people expected. Um, hell, myself, I figured that at some point in there, Zelensky would come to his senses and there would be some discussion. But with the EU and the UK insistent on giving them more weapons and supporting the war effort, they don't take what we have to say. Ukraine, that is, doesn't take what we have to say very seriously. So I guess Trump's considering pulling away from Ukraine, and that's going to get interesting quick. I suspect that if the U.S. backs away from Ukraine and gives kind of the idea that they might be pulling a little bit more away from NATO and or the UK and EU, then it could get really interesting. So I don't know. Time will tell. Other than that, Klaus Schwab, that is mind-blowing to me that he is now under investigation for allegations of misconduct involving the founder and former chairman, Klaus Schwab. Crazy. Got the article here. It says the report came one day after Schwab stepped down as chair of the WEF's Board of Trustees without publicly explaining his decision. Well, now we know why. His resignation ended more than 50 years at the helm of the WEF, which he founded in 1971 and built into the influential host of the annual Davos Summit of world leaders and chief executives. In other words, not you and I. According to the Wall Street Journal, the WEF board received an anonymous letter last week, reportedly from current and former employees, accusing Schwab and his wife, Hilde, also a former WEF employee, of financial and ethical misconduct. Who'da thunk it? I mean, such grand, great global citizens they are. The letter claims Schwab used the organization's funds for personal expenses and instructed junior staff to withdraw cash for private use, including massages. Ooh, I wonder if that includes the massages at Epstein Island during official trips. Wink, wink. It also alleged that Hilde Schwab used WEF money for luxury hotel stays during personal trips. How dare she? The letter raised additional concerns about Schwab's leadership, including claims he fostered a workplace environment where sexual harassment and discriminatory behavior went unchecked. Wow, I'm having bad keyframe rates, it says. It claims. Error. See if it straightens out. But anyway, that could get a little bit interesting. We shall see. Fun. Have a drink of coffee. Streamlabs says everything looks A-OK. I wonder if they are just sadly mistaken. Refresh the page and see if the warning's still there. Yep, it's still there. Fun. Oh well. I guess we'll move along. London, Ukraine talks downgraded as big players withdraw. A planned high-level meeting in London to discuss the Ukraine conflict has been downgraded after several key European ministers withdrew from the talks. The development comes after U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio signaled he would not be present. The meeting, initially set for Wednesday, was due to include top diplomats from the UK, the US, France, Germany, and Ukraine. However, the sit-down has been postponed and the discussions will now proceed at the level of officials, the UK Foreign Office has confirmed to AFP. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andrei Sybiga is still expected to hold a bilateral meeting with UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy, according to Sky News. Yeah, whatever. I don't think we're gonna have any decisions in what happens with Ukraine and Russia. And to be honest, that's fine with me. They can get their ass whooped with or without us. I mean, alright, next up. Wow, we might actually make it an early night. I didn't have that many. I only got 4 articles left. Washington angered by Zelensky's response to Trump peace plan, says Washington Post. U.S. officials are angered by Vladimir Zelensky's public dismissal of an American proposal to make territorial concessions to Russia in exchange for a peace deal in the Ukraine conflict, according to the Washington Post. In public comments on Tuesday, Zelensky dismissed options that the administration of U.S. President Donald Trump reportedly presented at high-level discussions in Paris last Thursday, which they believe could facilitate a peace agreement. One such proposal reportedly involved formal recognition of Crimea as Russian territory. Crimea is our territory, the territory of the people of Ukraine. We have nothing to talk about on this topic. It is outside our constitution, Zelensky stated. Again, this is war. War doesn't care about your constitution. According to the Post, citing an anonymous official briefed on the situation, there is anger in Washington over Kiev's reluctance to accept proposals to cede territory to Russia, and that Ukraine prefers to discuss a complete ceasefire first and everything else later. A follow-up meeting to the Paris talks between European and U.S. officials has been scheduled for London on Wednesday, although it was abruptly downgraded when U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio opted not to attend. Foreign ministers from European NATO members, including France and Germany, who are also due to gather in London, followed Rubio's lead and skipped the event. Which means it's a nothing burger. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of have a feeling Trump might just walk away. So, and I can't tell you, because if the U.S. steps back and it's up to the EU and the UK, they could very well put boots on the ground, along with provide direct air support and everything else. And that might not turn out so well over there. So, Have to definitely keep an eye on it. You have a couple of vapes. I went through and re-edited a video from a while back of making one of my juices. I'm gonna put it on the Militant Geek channel, just so people that vape and/or smoke can see how easy it is to do. So, all right. Russia easier to deal with than Ukraine, says Trump. Who'd have thunk it? U.S. President Donald Trump has said he's expected Vladimir Zelensky to be much easier to deal with than Russian President Vladimir Putin, but indicated he still hopes Kiev will accept Washington's proposal to end the conflict in Ukraine. Zelensky has publicly rejected one of the key points in the proposed U.S. peace framework, insisting earlier this week that Kiev will never, I believe that's supposed to be, Kiev will never even discuss formally recognizing Crimea as Russian territory. Man, that screwed me all up. The White House criticized him for revealing sensitive details of the negotiations, while President Trump warned that he risks losing the entire country if he continues to stall talks with Moscow. So, said, I think Russia is ready. I think we have a deal with Russia. We have to get a deal with Zelensky, Trump told journalists at the White House on Wednesday. U.S. President added that's okay, it's all right, expressing hope that we'll have a deal with both. So, we'll see. I don't think they know. Hang on a second. Hang on. Okay, got somebody that'll be here in a few minutes, so let me go ahead and whip through these. I only got 2 more articles up, so let's whip through them. U.S. ready to walk back some China tariffs, says Trump. U.S. President Donald Trump has signaled a potential easing of trade tensions with China, announcing that tariffs on the country's goods would be lowered significantly, he added. However, it won't be zero. As part of his sweeping Liberation Day tariffs on major trading partners, Trump sharply raised tariffs on Chinese goods to a staggering 145%. The move deepened the trade conflict between the world's 2 largest economies, despite growing concerns about the global economic impact. Alright, sorry. On Tuesday, Trump seemed to change his approach. We're going to be very good to China, have a great relationship with President Xi Jinping, he told reporters. 145% is very high, and it won't be that high. It'll come down substantially, but it won't be zero. Earlier on Tuesday, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent reportedly said the current trajectory of the trade war is unsustainable, raising hopes for a shift in policy. The measures against China are part of Trump's broader tariff campaign, targeting over 90 countries aimed at addressing what he calls unfair trade imbalances, while the hikes have been paused for most nations for 90 days. China was excluded. In response, Beijing imposed 125% tariffs on U.S. goods and curbed key exports. So, And alas, one more article. Trump task force vows to end anti-Christian bias. Oh wow, we're actually going to be able to beat our fastest record showtime. Trump task force. Oh, I think I said that already. The White House has launched a task force to investigate the alleged anti-Christian bias within federal agencies, directing employees to report perceived discrimination against Christians among their colleagues, according to media reports. I don't think he's here yet. He might be. Oh, neighbors, okay. Got a buddy that'll be here in a little bit, so I worked on a TV for him, so he's coming to pick it up. Let's see. U.S. President Donald Trump mandated the creation of what is called the Task Force to Eradicate Anti-Christian Bias in an executive order in February. The task force is meant to identify policies and actions across federal departments that have unlawfully discriminated against Christians, according to the document. The Biden administration engaged in an egregious pattern of targeting peaceful Christians while ignoring violent anti-Christian offenses. Attorney General Pam Bondi said the task force inaugural meeting on Tuesday. Christians under the administration of Joe Biden were subjected to abuse and spying from federal agencies, she claimed. Task force will identify unlawful and anti-Christian policies, practices, or conduct across the government, as well as find and fix deficiencies in existing and regulatory practices, Bondi said. Federal employees have reportedly received instructions to report instances of this kind of discrimination among their colleagues. So, we'll see where that goes. Anyway, I am going to hop out. He'll probably be here shortly. And I will see you all tomorrow evening. Hope you all have a good night. And shalom.